Hey guys, so today I want to talk about this book that I read quite a while ago. It's by Byron Katie, Loving What Is. Now, this book really worked magic on my perspective in life, and she talks about, well, first of all, her story of just awakening to these epiphanies is pretty cool. She goes into it in the introduction and describes how her life used to be, and then one day she just woke up and had this fresh perspective, and she was no longer tormented by her own thoughts. She used to be an alcoholic, and then she, kind of had this epiphany. And it was just so inspiring. And it's just really profound. The magic in the words really comes out with her dialogue between people that she's coaching and herself, where they come to her with these dilemmas, these really like real life difficulties, like some serious stuff, and she so compassionately just kind of brings them into a space of a peaceful perspective. And the way she does that is she shows them what it looks like to not argue with reality. From my interpretation of that, it's kind of like where you kind of pull yourself out of the space of being a victim, and through the recognition of things you can do about your situation. Because victims are real, victimhood is a very real thing, but when you're consumed in that like very powerless position in your mind, it's really difficult to move out of that space. And she really helps a lot of people go from victimhood, or just kind of like the futility of arguing with what is actually happening objectively. She points out how futile that is. And then once they are able to like take in the truth of their situation, then they're able to access their options, and it's an empowering thing to watch. So she has a process. It's called The Work, and there are 4 steps. I want to read it to you so that I don't mess it up or misquote, because, gotta be accurate. Number 1, so these people, they come to her with their dilemma. For example, my daughter isn't talking to me. You want to ask, is it true? And then the second question is, can I absolutely know that it's true? And then the third question is, how do I react? What happens when I believe that thought? So there isn't a correct answer to these questions. It's just these questions are really to get your mind out of that gridlock. So that's kind of where we're going with it. And then the fourth question is, who would I be without that thought? And then after you've done those 4 questions, you want to turn it around. So my daughter isn't talking to me, my daughter is talking to me would be a way to turn that around. Or I'm not talking to my daughter is another turnaround for that situation, for example. Or my daughter is talking to me, maybe I'm not listening, so things like that. You want to, first, I'll say it again. Is it true? Can I absolutely know it's true? How do I react when I believe that thought? And who would I be without that thought? So this process is really meant to just kind of like pull you out of that futility, because we really, it's so easy when we're emotionally charged about a situation that we kind of like get into this rut, this like we're stuck in this like emotional pigeonhole with our thoughts regarding that situation, and we just don't know what to do because we're so like, tunnel visioned on what's going on. And then these questions like really kind of like start paving the path away from that cornering. And it's really a phenomenal process. The questions, in my opinion, don't do her work justice. The real like meat and potatoes of this book for me was like just seeing her perspective on it and her interpretation of how reality isn't to be messed with. Reality is the way it is, and it's how it should be. So it's like, to go with my example, my daughter's not talking to me. It kind of like opens up the idea like maybe she shouldn't talk to you. What did you do? What was said to her that makes her not want to talk to you? Like, she is perfectly, within her business to not talk to you. And how are you holding on to your own like meanings and reactions to that, to the point where it's preventing you from moving forward in your life? And maybe if hypothetically, if you respect your daughter's decision to not talk to you, maybe she'll be able to move past it. And these musings don't have an agenda. They don't have the agenda to like solve your problem. It really opens your eyes to the potential that what you thought was the problem isn't the problem in the first place. And that right there just kind of like exploded in my mind. What I think is the problem probably isn't the real problem. So that, gave me a lot of traction and a lot of just like so many options, like I didn't realize how many perspectives I was blind to in my own struggles. That blindness to all those different perspectives was keeping me in suffering, in misery. It kept me in pain. And if you have the courage to just loosen your grip on the pain of something enough to see another option, sometimes that's all we need. And this book is amazing at that. She really works that magic in like loosening the grip of just the gridlock of painful situations. And I just love her for that. This book, it's, let's see here, just about 300 pages long. She has other books that she's written. They are on my list to read. Let me see if I can find some good little nuggets for you. Okay, here's a snippet for you. Reality doesn't wait for your opinion, vote, or permission, sweetheart. It just keeps being what it is and doing what it does. I love that. Reality is just independent of our interpretation, isn't it? Here's a little quote. The work invites us into the awareness of internal cause and effect. Once we recognize this, all our suffering begins to unravel on its own. So yeah, she really does that. She really points to the internal, our unique internal cause and effect of what's going on in whatever situation we're grappling with. So that's a nice representation here. And I'll try to find something else here too. Oh, this one's about money. We all need that quote. You don't ever need more money than you have. When you understand this, you begin to realize that you already have the security you wanted money to give you in the first place. It's a lot easier to make money from this position. So that's a good little nugget there. Uh-oh, my kid's crying. Hold on a sec. Okay, so the process of reading this book was just freshness and objectivity just blooming in my mind every time she would come in with her response to a person's dilemma. I could feel my vicarious emotional like entanglement with the person who had the problem just unravel, and taking that like application and applying those like processes to my own little internal knots, it was like massage therapy for my emotional system. And it was just great to, you know, of course you start with like the little things that bug you, and then you kind of graduate into the bigger things, because I did kind of struggle a little bit with when I went straight to my biggest like entanglements. I still was really stuck in my own thoughts, so I had to kind of get used to the process. And so that's where just reading this whole book was so helpful, because the more I exposed myself to her like pulling the threads of confusion and you know, pulling the threads of gridlock, I guess is the way to describe it. The more I got it, the more I realized the nuance of what she's doing. And yeah, this was just such a pleasure to read. I couldn't stop it. It was just one of those books that just grips you. And my kids running around. And yeah, I couldn't recommend it enough. I think this book is like 101 for anybody who wants to develop a better relationship with themselves in regarding like any kind of adversity or things that you might need to develop a little resiliency towards, because it really dissolves that resistance that we're holding internally. And yeah, so check this out. I'll link it below. Loving What Is by Byron Katie. She also has a website, and like I think she has an app too, The Work. She has an app, she has a website, she does these like live like Zoom things. I think you can sign up for those on her website too. So she's like active with her thing. She's getting a little bit older, so I don't know how old she is, but I believe I still get like the regular emails that I've subscribed to. So yeah, so you can tune in to her actually doing the work on people with these calls too. So check it out. I hope this information is useful to you, and have a lovely day. I'll see you in the next video.